I think we have to consult with VAR to make sure that we're recording.
That's true. Let me get a signal.
Was there a foul in the build-up to the hitting the record button? Did Sonny get knocked out?
Yes, I believe it happened about 3 or 4 passes ago. So we're going to go back and review those passes before we can check whether or not we're good.
All right. That's right, fine people, and our one dear listener, whoever you may be. We're back. It's the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We took a week off for the holiday. I hope that everybody enjoyed their spring break and was able to celebrate no matter what holiday you were celebrating. For myself, I got to go home back to Philly for the first time in 15 months. I finally got to see my dad for the first time in 15 months. He's a little older and a little more senile. I definitely have a lot more hair than I did last time I saw him, but it was good to see him for the first time in 15 months, get to give him a hug and celebrate that reunion and get back to Philly, see some friends I haven't seen in a while. So a really great last week. So you will excuse us for not doing our normal banter, as I know I was on the road. Instead, you've been dealing with a couple of sick kids, and London Sean has been dealing with apocalyptic weather over in England, where apparently it's snowing and they have locusts all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So, gentlemen, how y'all doing this evening? Stead, how's it going?
It's going. I'm ready to just put a bow on this one and just look forward to the Euros.
I told y'all, keep your receipts. We're not sure that 2020 is going to be any better than 2021.
That's
but
true.
Hey, I see you repping DC United, and we'll get there a little bit later, but we do know the MLS season is starting, so there's always hope.
Yes. And Mike, we can have our annual MLS preview show where we go, we have no clue what's going to happen this year.
I was going to mention later on in the show that, keeping with tradition, we're actually going to save our MLS preview show for about 3 weeks into the season when we actually can preview them, because we actually start to know. But this year, because we have London Sean, we have to really go through it and explain the intricacies of MLS to the best of our ability, which is going to make for a really short show. Sean, I'm now going to explain MLS to you. I have no clue. Neither does anybody else.
No.
But I feel like we should get Sean an MLS team.
I agree. I think we should.
I need one.
I think we should get him an MLS team. So what we'll do is we'll kind of do speed dating for MLS clubs.
We should do that next show.
Next show we're going to do speed dating for MLS clubs for London Sean. You know, we'll give them some bios. We'll break down the 3,972 franchises in all of MLS and give them an opportunity.
All I know is that I'll be in the playoffs, because apparently you can finish 10th in the table of 14 and still get in the playoffs. So I'll be in the playoffs.
Never ever be relegated.
No,
you never have to. There you go. That's the other thing. You never have to worry about relegation.
Well, that's great. So Guinness never really worry about relegation. He's not been relegated since 1918, so that's fine.
Yeah. So you basically, so we can find you a happy mid-table team. The only problem is, like, unlike Arsenal, it'll be hard to find one that actually plays attractive football.
Okay.
Because attractive football and MLS are two things that don't typically get put in the same sentence together, unless it is something like Club America played some really attractive football against DC United in a friend.
I've just thought, who does Carlos Vela play for?
He plays for LAFC.
LAFC. Is that the Beckham's team?
No.
That's Inter Miami.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Shows you my knowledge.
He used to play for LA Galaxy.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Well, Carlos is an ex-Gooner, so that's what.
Right.
I think there are a couple of ex-Gooners still left in the in MLS. I know Gideon Zalalem was trying to ply his trade, and technically he's an ex-Gooner. He did play a game, but I don't think that he even made the roster for an MLS team last year, which tells you how far he's fallen.
Mm.
So,
okay.
Before we get into it, though, we do actually have somebody who on this podcast who might know something about MLS.
Mhm.
As Andy shakes his head, no, he's as lost as the rest of us. And here I was, Andy, hoping you could save us.
I don't have a Scooby. I have no idea. I don't.
We can all go with we're pretty sure that DC United actually plays in DC.
I can't confirm that one. Yeah, that one 100%.
Well, I mean, that's better than some franchises because, like, Philadelphia Union doesn't actually play in Philadelphia. They play in Chester, which is about 45 minutes south of Philadelphia. Really interesting drive if you ever want to make it. Not much there except for a casino, which is built right behind the prison, which tells you everything that you need to know about the city of Chester. We're going to build the casino right behind the prison. But so, Andy, though, it's good to be a Hammer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's probably the best we've ever had it. I mean, I think in my lifetime easily, obviously, but this is great. We're flying high off the coattails of Jesse Lingard.
Mm-hmm. The British Messi strikes again. So was that the recipe for success? You just get a loan deal for the British Messi, you put him in, and then everything it just turns up roses.
I mean, it helps, obviously. I think, it's helpful that he decided that he wanted to score, 8 goals in 7 matches or something like that. Just phenomenal. But I think a lot of it goes to, like, he really fits with the style of play, with the kind of quick counterattacks that David Moyes wants to do. I do worry about the injuries that are accumulating in this team. I mean, we're playing without Antonio for the next month. Aaron Cresswell left, what was that, Sunday? Yeah, left Sunday's match with hamstring injury as well. He's a vital piece. I don't think it can be overstated how important Cresswell has been this season. And pretty much as soon as Cresswell left, West Ham gave up 2 goals. I guess I lied. I think one was right before that. But, it was a remarkably different performance once Cresswell left. So I do have concerns. No Declan Rice, for the next month. So there are holes in this team. Papering them over right now, and somehow in 4th place in the league, which is phenomenal and a little dizzying at the same time.
You guys are fortunate a little bit, though, because even as you go through this month without Cresswell, Antonio, and Declan Rice, the run of fixtures that you have left is not daunting. I mean, hosting Chelsea, yeah. Well, you get Newcastle away, Burnley away, Everton home, Brighton away, West Brom away, and then Southampton home on the last day of the season. When you look at the run-ins for the fellow top 4 teams, arguably West Ham have the easiest run of the bunch, and certainly an easier run than your than some of your competitors for that last for that final Champions League place. So the question on everybody's mind, can you get through it? It doesn't look daunting, but again, like you said, it gets a little nervy. You start getting altitude sickness. It gets a little uncomfortable for both the players and the fans. The air is thin when you get into the top 4.
Yeah. The funny thing, I look at that 7-match fixture list, and the match that scares me most in that group of 7 is actually May 15 against West Brom, because I just envision Big Sam pulling out this unbelievable win against West Ham to crush, West Ham's hopes of the Champions League, and it would just be absolute. I mean, he would be laughing on the sideline with his big belly laugh, and it would just be terrible, and it'd be like, oh, Big Sam strikes again. So that one's the most scary of them all. But you look at the rest, and you're like, Chelsea's not as impenetrable as they used to be. I think you could probably nick something there if we played pretty well. Newcastle, Burnley, Brighton, Southampton did not look good against West Brom. So, I think that those are winnable matches, and I think even without the likes of Antonio and Declan, and who knows about Cresswell, kind of what his situation is, but even without those guys, I think West Ham could, at least pick up enough points to stay in the conversation at the very least. I don't think they're going to taper off too much. But they could. It's yeah. I mean, you're right with the whole altitude sickness stuff. You know, a lot of these people in the squad are not used to being up at this level. It's a thin squad right now. If like one more guy goes down, I don't know what the heck we're going to do. So it'll be a nervy last month or so. But I mean, every match has been a little bit nervy. I mean, you go up 3-0, 3 straight games, and you drop one of them to Arsenal. It felt like a loss, honestly, but just with the 3-3. But you drop 2 points against Arsenal. You hold on against Wolverhampton. You hold off against Leicester, and that's just like seems like that's the way the season is right now. I mean, we have these flashes of brilliance, and then it's like hold on for dear life because I don't know how we got here. The whole that's kind of what it feels like.
Kind of feel good though to score 9 goals in 3 games though, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know. When was the last time we did that? You know?
Yeah,
it's amazing, and the fact that right after halftime on Sunday when it was Jared Bowen's, it was like holy, we're getting contributions from every which way. It's not just it used to be Antonio was kind of the only hope. I think the first beginning part of the season, I was saying like, if Antonio gets injured, I don't know what we're going to do because we don't have another striker, and this team just plays, completely different with him up top. But now it seems like, yeah, we can actually figure things out without Antonio. We did it much of the Wolverhampton match once he left injured, and then we did it Sunday against Leicester. I mean, it looks like, even without a striker on the field, things can happen.
Instead, when we talked about having Andy on the show, it was like, it'll be nice to have a perspective from a mid-table team. And, West Ham's a good team. They're well known. But, we have a lot of people who are top 4. So my question is, because he's top 4 now, does that make Sean and you the representatives of the mid-table team?
That's us, baby. We're dead center. we're battling out for 9th, 10th, or 11th, man. We're mid-table squads right now.
I mean, East London, West Ham is the top London team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it looks like, as things sit, it might be West Ham who are the London representative in the Champions League, depending on. Now, we've all talked about it, Leicester doing that Leicester slide, which could benefit Chelsea and Liverpool. And certainly West Ham, because West Ham are in the perfect position to capitalize on it because you guys are sitting in 4th. The easiest way to win a Champions League place at the end of the season is being won now, right? But so with 21 games, when we first had you on, you were talking about we kind of just want to be in. I'm looking for a season where we're safe and we're not fighting relegation, and then oh well, we could make Europe, but now it's like you're fighting for the Champions League. Are you confident? You can be apprehensive, but are you confident in this team's ability to continue to hold just not necessarily just a Champions League place, but just any spot in Europe?
Yeah, if you want to, include Europa League, that I feel pretty confident about that, which is a bizarre thing for me to admit about confidence on anything. But I think Leicester might kind of stumble into the finish as usual. I think West Ham is a phenomenal final 7 matches that I could probably throw a dart at the board and say 5 wins out of those last 7 is realistic. So I feel pretty good. I mean, this is as good as it's ever going to get. So if West Ham bottles this, it's like, yeah, it wasn't meant to be. And I wouldn't be that shocked because, the bubbles fly so high and then they fade and die. Just like,
you got nothing to lose, man.
But yeah, you may as well go for it. Like
house money.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal just to kind of have this like unbridled joy when you tune into West Ham and think like, hey, I think we can win. Like that is something brand new. I'm used to, like, I remember celebrating like crazy when we went to Stamford Bridge with Big Sam in 2014, I want to say it was, and we held on. I think we conceded like 30 shots on goal and we didn't concede, and it was a 0-0, but it felt like a gigantic victory, and like I feel like we've come a decent way since then, which is awesome. And the funniest thing to me is just like at the beginning of the season, I thought this was going to be a relegation dogfight, and it's just turned completely differently. Credit to the manager. Some of the January recruitment was phenomenal between Craig Dawson and Jesse Lingard. But who would have thought Craig Dawson would suddenly become like the most stable defender in the Premier League suddenly? Like I'm not saying he's like the next coming of Virgil van Dijk, but like he's been good. He's been stable as a 30-some-year-old in center back for us, which is I didn't expect. I thought he was going to be a depth piece, but crazy times call for crazy things, and I think the stars are kind of aligning in a way, which you got to take advantage of.
Well, that was certainly the case this weekend when Leicester comes in and all of a sudden they have that COVID issue. I mean, I don't think Ayosi Perez and Hamza Chadori were going to play a big role in that, but certainly, going up against the Leicester teams without James Maddison in it gives them an advantage. But then, so you got to take advantage of those when they come, and sometimes the stars do, and you got to be able to take advantage of those opportunities when they come. One of the things that you talked about, two things were sort of playing without fear and Moyes' role in this. A lot of teams, when they get towards that place, that top part of the Premier League, they tend to tighten up a little bit. If you're playing the way that West Ham have the last couple of weeks, even though you're conceding goals, right, they have been playing with a little bit of looseness, a little bit of recklessness, a little bit of enjoyment. They look like a team that is enjoying the fight rather than being intimidated by it. How much of this is Moyes' preparation, keeping the dressing room loose, keeping them prepared, keeping them, able to stay within themselves and play and not tighten up, and resisting his own urge to say, hey, let's slide into this more defensive brand, let's not concede, let's keep attacking, let's keep doing this. Even if we do score 3 and the other team scores 3 and we give up what feels like a win against Arsenal and it becomes a draw, hey, we scored goals, we played well, we came out of there with a point, which at the beginning of the season, I think you would have taken.
Yeah, I think David Moyes has revitalized his image as a football manager. And I hope he stays at West Ham for a lot longer than what he's under contract right now for. But yeah, I think he's had a pretty big role in making this a possibility. Making sure that West Ham doesn't freak out and just go completely 10 men behind the ball, basically, which admittedly, the last 10, 15 minutes against Leicester was kind of like that. But that was because Mark Noble went off injured, Cresswell went off injured. We had Ben Johnson, a 22-year-old fullback, playing center defensive midfield. I mean, that was a terrifying instance. So, but overall, it's been positive football, which is great to see. For some reason, I do credit a lot of it too, just with the players that he's kind of running with right now. They seem to be very, they bought in too, and I think it's always a two-way street. A manager can say one thing and try to get his players to do one thing, but you have to have the players be willing to actually follow that advice and kind of put in the hard yards that it's not always the most fun, chasing the ball around and playing a kind of press and hitting people on the break. I mean, that's not the easiest maybe, but we haven't seen Yarmolenko in eons. We haven't seen Lanzini in eons. And I think it's because, Moyes figured out, okay, we're the lineup we have right now, but be it, Bowen, Fernals, Lingard, Souček, those guys are going to they're going to put in the hard yards for us. And that's what we're going to run with. So I think a lot of it is, Moyes putting in the right ideas and kind of putting belief into this team, but it's also the players have to believe in him and themselves. And I think he's found the right group that kind of has that belief right now. And I think you got to run with it, because who knows if this is ever going to be possible again.
So what I'll get you out on this, unless Stead or Sean have another comment. The latest rumor surrounding Jesse Lingard is that any deal with Man United for Jesse Lingard is going to involve a swap for Declan Rice. As a West Ham supporter, Are you willing to make that?
Yeah, it's devastating. I also saw, I don't know how much I believe this one, but I also saw that Arsenal was interested in Jesse Lingard if Martin Odegaard doesn't come through on a full. And I think I saw a crazy one from ESPN or something that said like, Real Madrid and PSG are looking at Jesse Lingard. And I was like, all right, let's
Mhm.
for a
Get a
second.
little wild here.
Let's calm down. But yeah, back to the the Man United swap deal with getting Jesse, you have to give back Declan. It makes sense that Manchester United would be insisting upon that. I don't think I would. That's a really tough one. You're putting me on the spot. I don't think I'd take it, just
I mean,
because.
not straight up. There's going to be some cash in there for.
Well, yeah, no, I
for
understand,
Declan.
but like, Declan is. I just feel like he could be the captain of this team for 15 more seasons if he wanted to be. And of course, that's being like way too altruistic, and he's never going to do that. He's probably going to leave in a year anyway. So we might as well snap him up right now, and get something good. But yeah, there's a little bit of me that like would love this happily ever after of Declan Rice as a West Ham player for the rest of his career. It would be awesome. In reality, you look at it and say, kind of a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. And getting Jesse and cash, and then finding another random Czech Republic midfielder to partner with Thomas Souček, that might be the answer. But yeah, it's tough. I would love not to lose Declan, but it might almost be unavoidable, which is disappointing. When players play, when you overachieve, I mean, this is what's going to happen.
Do you know how much he's on, Andy?
Sorry?
Do you know how much Declan is on at the moment? What wages is Declan getting at West Ham?
I don't even have the faintest clue. I know it's under 100K and over
100
is my, yeah, but I don't have an exact idea. But I mean, I could look that up.
55,000 a week.
Yeah. So, there's a certain aspect of, I'm sure Declan would look at Man U and say, oh, okay, I could get a Bugatti with my first paycheck. Sounds cool. So.
It's one of those rare deals where you hear it and it almost makes sense for both sides. Jesse, I think, would be a better player at West Ham with David Moyes. And at this point in his career, I think he would resist the idea of going to Arsenal and say, my future in the England side will be more secure playing at West Ham than it would be at Arsenal. Whereas Declan can look and say, here's a shot for regular European football, a better wage, more endorsement money, more exposure, and a chance to break consistently into the England side by proving it. And it almost makes sense. I mean, I know it's hard though from a fan perspective to say, I'm willing to see this guy who I know could be the anchor of a team. And hey, we're making it to the Champions League this year. Who's to say that we couldn't make it next year and the year after? And this could be, West Ham could be the new. We could turn it into the top 7 instead of the top 6. But yeah, sometimes reality bites. Well,
yeah. I do worry a little bit too that I want Jesse to realize that I think West Ham probably is the best place for him to probably be. I think just long term for him. So hopefully he doesn't get like big ideas somehow in his head of like, oh my gosh, I should go play for PSG, which is a ridiculous transfer rumor. Like that is never going to happen. But even Arsenal or going back, and I don't think he has a place in Manchester United consistently enough, and he does in East London, which is great. But yeah, if it comes at the expense of Declan, it would hurt 100%.
So, Andy, before we let you go, I know you said you know nothing about MLS, so it's the perfect time to ask you, give me a prediction for the upcoming MLS season.
Oh, sounds great. I'm just going to throw something at the wall. The Portland Timbers do something good in the West and probably make the playoffs. Everyone does, and they're going to go on a run and win a second cup in 5 years or something. I think they won it before. Pretty sure. That's my guess. I have no idea. MLS. I don't waste my time watching that league. it's not worth the empty calories.
You know what? And your prediction probably has as much chance of coming through as anything that any of us are going to say. So, Andy, we want to thank you for coming on and giving us the top of the Champions League perspective from East London, and we'll get you back on in a couple of weeks to see where West Ham and the Hammers are doing.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Have fun.
See ya.
Yeah, see you.
So I was walking through the neighborhood, and I was speaking with Andy's dad, and I said, let me just say something really quickly. West Ham's turnaround and their run has coincided directly with Andy's appearances on our podcast. So he needs to stay on, because we will recall, once he started coming on this show, boom, West Ham has been playing lights out football.
So I was going to say something to that effect, because I think we've all noticed that, yeah, West Ham's run has coincided with him. So I'm not sure whether it's us rubbing off on him, or the podcast, or his presence on the podcast somehow translating. Sean will tell you, I've had some weird luck with English sports before, and getting wins and stuff that I know nothing about. So sometimes I can be a good luck charm, but other times it can be a jinx. We never know, right?
You haven't been one for us this season, particularly, Mike, have you?
Yeah, but I don't root for Arsenal.
No. I'll tell you what I should have raised with Andy, which I've just now discovered. But I was going to ask him whether Gold and Sullivan were going to run away with the 100 million that they're going to get for the champion, if they qualify for the Champions League. But even better than that, and look it up, guys. David Sullivan's wife is an ex-porn star who sits on the West Ham board. So the only boardroom in the entire Premier League that has a porn star sitting at the table.
Name?
Name of the porn star? Do you think you might recognise instead? Oh,
no.
Well, she's Mrs. Sullivan. That's all I can say. So don't have a fake name up there. So,
I won't Google her later. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, you need to Google her later. Yeah. Exactly.
No, he won't Google her later because he's Googling her now.
He's Googling her now. So the only other thing that's quite interesting.
Hey man, everybody's got to earn a living somehow,
I agree with the fixture list, the 7 games they've got left. But the English bookies make them the outsiders of the 4. So any 2 from 4 can qualify for the Champions League, and they've got Leicester, Chelsea, and Liverpool all at under even money, and West Ham's the outsiders, which I don't understand. So maybe Andy should do a little investment in his team.
Well, we know that bookies sometimes don't go by how they can get money on both sides, and it would be more profitable to have the big names in there. I will say, though, that also 538's model, which of course becomes more accurate the more data that's put into it, has West Ham on the outside looking in, but they also have the 4 teams in Leicester, Chelsea, West Ham, and Liverpool, all separated in their final table by a point and goal difference.
Wow.
So even they're predicting that it's going to be really, really tight. They have the 2 in Leicester and Liverpool who they predict making it on 67 points at the end of the season. And then West Ham and Chelsea missing out and finishing in Europe, but on 66 points. So what they're basically telling me is that they see a very, 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 very close race amongst these 4 teams for the final 4 spots. By this point in time, that model is starting to get a lot more accurate, way more so than it was at the beginning of the season. Although I will give them credit, man. Even back at the beginning of the season, when I thought that 538 was their model was on some junk, they've consistently been with Man City throughout the season, even when it looked like that was the worst idea on the face of the planet. Yeah. And they've been consistently very high on Barcelona, which I found surprising. And I was like, I don't think Barcelona will make it. And you see Barcelona starting to creep back into Champions League and even getting in with a shot depending on how results go. And we'll talk to Leo in a little bit about this, and it didn't go their way this week, but depending on how it goes and with Atleti slipping up, they could be in. So you take their model for what it's worth, but there is some legitimacy to the statistical model that they have. And so I know that they're not going to say that it's like 100% that this is how the table's going to end up, but they're predicting a tight race to the finish. And I think that it is going to be, right? I think it's going to be. And I think that's where, that's where the interest is going to be. Because if you look at the bottom half, at the bottom of the table, we keep saying we think that Newcastle can get caught, but nobody seems to want to do it.
Yeah.
Not after this weekend, though.
Yeah.
That was a very big 3 points.
Yeah. And, Big Sam has West Brom ticking now, and they turned over Chelsea and they turned over Southampton. But, they've got a game in hand, but I think they're just too far gone being 8 points back. And the same with Fulham. I think there is just a little too, they would need to kick it. Fulham would need to kick it into gear right now to get it. So I think what we're seeing from the relegation race is going to be the relegation race. Look, Sheffield United can be down as soon as this weekend.
Yeah.
If with a loss or a Newcastle win, they can be down this weekend. At the top of the table, even though United has the opportunity this weekend to close the gap to 8 points and get it down to single digits, which I think would be an accomplishment in and of itself, we're kind of getting the feeling now that the top two are pretty much going to be the top two. So that race for Europe and the race for those Europe spots that 3 through 7, 3 through 8 is really, I think, where the entertainment value is going to be in these last 7 games.
I'm a bit disappointed that we're not going to get a relegation battle this year, because that's something I've always tended to look forward to, because you see some really amazing games that occur. And maybe I'm still just nostalgic about the old Wigan days, but it looks like we're pretty much done from about 9 down. It's pretty much, those are the teams. There might be some shifting, a place or two here and there, but it looks pretty solid. So it seems like the games to watch are going to be games that are involving, I would even say maybe not even Spurs. I mean, maybe not. We'll see what Spurs do in their next game, but it looks like it's just going to be the Liverpool, West Ham, Leicester, Chelsea sort of battling to see who's going to get Champions League and who's going to go to Europa League. Because you look outside of that, I mean, Everton with a bad draw today. Villa's dealing with some knocks, and it's almost like Villa's kind of like, I said that gap that they had, how that's going to cramp up one day, and it looks like that cramp is starting to stick right now. I'm having them lose those games that was not good for them in the long run. So, and of course, watch Leeds because they're fun. I mean, the Leeds versus City game, that was a fun game to watch. It was, especially considering that I was pretty disappointed how they went down to 10 men and the way they just kept playing. And you kind of forgot they were down to 10 men after a while. I kind of was like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize it. So I think for drama's sake, there really isn't much to watch outside of those 4 teams. For entertainment's sake, watch Leeds because they're fun to watch.
Well, we just talked about it. Anytime you score 9 goals in 3 games, there's something to watch. Mm-hmm. So we could watch West Ham for the entertainment value. I certainly think they're going to be worth the viewing dollars.
Agreed.
I wonder if the Premier League, when they put out their next tranche of fixtures and rearrange them, if they're going to start to make more of an effort to feature these games in sort of their primetime slots.
Yeah.
Moving around. I know it's a tough balance to make. You want to highlight the Man Cities and the Uniteds and the Chelseas, the Liverpools, Arsenals, Tottenhams, the big clubs, because they're the big clubs with the biggest fan bases. But at the same time, all the action in the last 7 games is going to be with kind of those 4 clubs. And they're all on kind of different trajectories, which I think makes it even more interesting. We talked about Leicester City in the Brendan Rodgers end of the season slide that they're doing. Can he arrest this before it gets too great and they end up pulling what they did the last season or what he's done in the past, where we've got the points in hand, but we're just going to start to slowly regress back to the pack. Tuchel, since he's taken over, has had Chelsea humming, but they've had some bumps in the road more recently. A draw and a loss, his first non-win since he's been here. Now they recovered this weekend with a win, but still, what do we make of Liverpool?
I think they've been very unlucky with injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back on this season, that where Van Dijk got injured against Everton, which is what, their 4th or 5th game of the season, and for him to miss 33 games, league games, well, that will be at the end of the season. I mean, anyone would suffer. And then they lost Gomez about 5 games later, didn't they? And when you lose your 2 main central defenders, you're in trouble, basically.
But again, it hasn't necessarily with Liverpool been an issue of defense, right? I get it. Anytime you lose, like, most of your starting your 2 center backs and a figure like Virgil van Dijk, it is going to have a net effect on it. But the thing that's been interesting about them this season is that they struggled to score.
They have.
And I can understand that it's partially down to players not being in the positions that they were in last year.
Yeah.
But still, Mane and Salah and Firmino have not been firing, right? Trent Alexander-Arnold has been as prone to making mistakes as he has been to great play.
Yeah, but
there's
Trent
a reason why
Alexander-Arnold is also, he doesn't have the protection that he had before. I mean, his ability to press forward and be a bit more free in his attack has been. The problem is he hasn't adjusted to not having that freedom anymore. He hasn't adjusted to saying, I need to be a little bit more of a defender because I can't just kind of run up like I could before. So now you're seeing a kind of a dynamic shift in the game where he's making more errors. And also, Mane is in a slump. He just is. I don't know why, but yeah, Sadio Mane is in some sort of a slump right now, that he's in a funk, and you see him, he's pressing, he's taking ill-advised shots. I remember the season when I think it was the season that they probably should have won and they ended up screwing up and losing later on. But there was a couple games where you saw Mane just taking some bad shots on goal where he had opportunities to pass and there were other players who were wide open, and it was just like, are you upset about something? Is there something going on right now? And it seems like he's in a little bit of a funk right now, and I think it's wise for at least the way Klopp has been not starting him as much and trying to bring him in off the bench so he can be a bit fresher to try and get maybe an attack against some players who are a little more fatigued so he can build up his confidence. But I mean, again, I think it is a slump, and I think it's also a little bit of an ego punch in the gut for a lot of these guys. And, Matt might be right that Firmino is not what everybody thinks he is. So I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating, but it just seems like that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I've just had a look, actually, taking up on your point, Mike. Last season, I'm just looking at the end of the season table. So Liverpool scored 85 goals in 38 games last season, and they've only currently got 53. So I can't see him scoring 20 goals in the last 7 games this season.
No. And I think, and I get it. I'm not naive enough to think like, oh, if you move Jordan Henderson back to center back, that doesn't have a net effect. But I also feel like I would be remiss if I didn't point out, this was a team that we talked about, and why we said that they were going to be so dangerous was because they were so deep, because they could withstand. We thought they could withstand the injuries. Now, that's not to say that any team wouldn't be affected by the number that they have, but defensively, it hasn't always been the problem. It's been the offense that hasn't been kicking, and it looks as if no matter what happens, that they're going to need to make some changes and some adjustments going from this season into next, right? He's going to have to open up the purse strings and bring in some players. They might have to consider moving on one of those three up front, to bring somebody else in to get some other options. Maybe go out and get another center back, and make some different moves, because this is a team that went from, it's kind of getting towards the end of its natural lifespan. It's a team
Yep. Yep.
that's been around for about 4 or 5 years. And, Sir Alex once said it, any team has about 5 years and then it needs a refresh. So they're right up against it. They've accomplished what they wanted to.
Yeah, they got a Champions League and a league title.
You can't ask for much more.
Yeah.
This season is going to go down as a disappointment, but it's time. So we want to bring in our good friend Leo, the Italian,
Wow,
to talk
man.
a little. It's been a
Hey,
while.
guys. How you been?
What better to bring you back on than a Classico?
What a day it was.
Mhm.
Well, I pick a side in that game, and I love to see it. But it was a great one, and I'm happy to see the boys stepping up. Like Vinicius had a great game, and he's been looking real sharp lately. And that's the kind of thing that Real Madrid brought him over to do a while ago, and there was a lot of silence. Like he didn't really live up to that. We like to call it the FIFA curse. Any player who's on the cover of FIFA that doesn't perform the next year. But between the Liverpool game and El Clasico, the team looked great, even with Ramos being out, and just really exciting stuff that the last time we talked, I think it was like 2 months ago or something. I was not optimistic in any way. Now things have changed. The table looks different overall.
The
Everybody,
table looks different. The Champions League looks different.
Yeah.
Somehow, Zinedine Zidane has figured out how to do it again. I mean, this goes for all four. Is he really that good?
I don't know if he's really that good. Because I was disappointed for the last year and a half, maybe longer. But I think they started to look like his team again. They looked like they were having fun launching long balls down the field to strikers that can get there. And Benzema had a pretty one. Everybody loves the back heel, but just overall putting shots on the goal, and the team was dominant. And they were feisty. They're better when they're feisty.
They play well angry.
Yeah.
Mhm. It sets up.
Sorry, I was
Go
just
ahead,
going to say.
Sean.
Yeah, go on, you go, Mike. Go on.
It's the end of the season sets up nicely for you guys. The big games are out of the way. I'm not going to say that the run-in isn't without its potential pitfalls. You have Sevilla at home. You have Athletic Bilbao, which is always a little bit of a tricky one. Betis, Villarreal. All of those can be potential banana skin games, but overall, sitting 1 point off the top of the table with a commanding lead in the Champions League. You said it. You're feeling a little more confident now. Where is the confidence meter on a 1 to 10? Where are we that we're going to come away with some sort of silverware this season?
Of a sort. Probably not both. But in the league, man, all they have to do is what they're supposed to. There's no game on that schedule left that they shouldn't win. So, all you really have to do is not mess up. Easier said than done. I don't know that they have even if they win out, are they going to have the league? Because Atletico up by a point. I didn't do the math, but it looks like they have a shot at just by winning the rest of their games to win
Yeah.
outright.
Yeah. If they hold serve, they'll win. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but Atletico still has, if you want to go based on the two teams, Atletico still has the tougher game
Mhm.
left. They still have to go to Barcelona and play. So that would be the one where, where we said that there are, for Real Madrid, all they have to do is win the games that they're supposed to.
Mhm.
Atleti still has probably the tougher of the games left. They still have May 8th, that away date in the Camp Nou, and we know Barca still has some aims. I mean, they're only sitting 2 points back.
Yeah.
They're going to be up for that one,
Goals
and
this year, too. Barca can score. They can still score goals.
they can still score goals, and so they're going to have something to say about that, because that's their title as well. So that's why I said, it kind of, you look at it and you would have to say its advantage, Real right now.
I think
Barca
so.
still has to travel to Valencia and play Atleti, so they have a couple of tougher games left. Sean, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say this surely must be one of the tightest titles in years. There's only 6 points in the amongst the top four. It's interesting that this year, normally in Spain, there's only two that seem to run away with the league. The same's happening in France. There's only, I think, 6 points between the top four teams in
Which
France,
is shocking. Absolutely.
which is
Actually,
shocking.
I was looking at some of the League On games, going, I should probably tune into some of these as the season wraps up.
Yeah, which is great, because obviously people have always said the Premier League is the most exciting league, but this looks as though it's going to be a massively exciting finish. What I was going to ask you is, what are the rumours in Spain? Are Barca likely to keep Messi? One question, because obviously he comes to the end of his contract this summer, doesn't he? And second question, what are Madrid going to do? Because some of these players are going to be getting their bus passes soon, aren't they? I mean, sorry, yeah. Did Modric not play at the weekend? Did he not start the game against Barcelona?
He was in there.
He was in there. Is
Yeah,
he not like 36 now or something ridiculous?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think I told you guys before, this is like the 2012 Champions League roster.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's amazing. So,
Um,
are there rumors about sort of
I
recruitment
don't
at the
know.
moment?
I can't speculate about Messi. I wish I could.
Okay.
If I had to make an opinion, they'd probably pay him what he wants just because he's Messi, and that's usually what happens at the end of every year. Um, as far as Real goes, some of these guys are aging and gonna go. And I read a recent article about Zidane's involvement with the U21 team. It seems like he wants to keep a lot of the players around that are like coming up through Madrid, which is awesome. Also, Real Madrid has a habit of stealing away the best like 19 and 20-year-olds from anywhere else in Spain. Anytime someone starts to make noise, he's suddenly wearing white. Um, so I think that they'll be fine with that. I think it'll actually free up some space both on the bench and in the budget when some of these guys like Modric, who has a giant contract, Marcelo is one of my favorite players of all time, but he's going to be on his way out soon. Um, these guys were all re-signed, I believe, until 21 or 22. So like the next 2 years, a lot of them are going to go, which will be an exciting new team. And I hope that they keep some of the younger talent like Vinicius, people like that, and continue to develop them to where they probably should have been last year and this year. They look good towards the end of the season. Um, and they have an easy league schedule, which means they're just going to put it all onto Liverpool on Wednesday. Like they don't even start their best players in the league because it's not the top priority. I think with this year, with it being so close in reach, they'll probably try. But in the past, they've actually, like when Ronaldo and the rest of them were on the team, they would sit them for big league games just to focus on the midweek Champions League. A prediction, if I must, I think it would be awesome if Barca and Atletico tied.
Yeah.
Like a really tough game, like a 3-3 tie.
And they're just all and they've beaten each other up really good. Yeah.
So I mean, one of the things though is, as far as the turnover goes, that's a lot of institutional knowledge walking out the door. I mean, the names that I've heard leaving, the likes of Cruz and Modric, um, Varane almost seems certain to go, as does Sergio Ramos. Like, that's a lot of starts right there, which means that you're going to be bringing in a lot of young players, some of whom are not even on the team right now. I don't even know who they would have to do they have players on their roster right now to fill the shoes of, Ramos and Varane in the central defense, or are you going to want to go out and buy them? Because we've seen what happens when a team has to basically turn over their entire starting lineup. It takes a while for it to bed in, and they could get off to a rough start next year. Where are these replacements going to come from? Does Madrid have the money? And do you trust the board to spend it wisely, or are they going to go blow their entire load on Kylian Mbappe?
Those are excellent points. I don't think that you really can replace a Sergio Ramos, Varane, who's been through Champions League finals. Also, even though they're like really old, the midfield of Cruz, Modric, and sometimes Casemiro when he moves up, like they're like the pass masters of the world. They have like the craziest stats, like in their Champions League debuts, like 96% pass completion and just controlling the ball in the midfield. So no, I don't think you can replace them. Definitely not with the younger guy moving up. Are they going to go out and spend money on big names? Probably. They like doing that, but there's always some like sleeper pick. I'm always sort of impressed with like one guy who maybe plays for like Valencia right now, who I haven't heard of, that they bring over and he's suddenly like awesome and doing a really good job in Madrid. I hope they don't spend all their money on Mbappe. That probably wouldn't help the team.
Well, that's what. Yeah, you can spend all your money on Mbappe or Holland, but or try and get them both. But I think that's going to be doubtful. What do you make of those rumors, though, that have been merged, especially in the last week, that Mbappe basically has his heart set on playing for Real Madrid, and Real Madrid have their heart set on him? Is he the player that you need? Or should you focus the limited resources that you do have in terms of funding on other positions right now? Is he more of a luxury?
I don't think that he's the player that Madrid needs. Because I mean, Madrid is built so strongly in the defense and the midfield. They have a dominant play style when they get going that involves just launching the balls to a striker who will then finish. I think that the best use of the money would be to replace one of these guys who have won what 5 titles with them, like a three-peat in the Champions League, like basically with the same midfield. Like those are the people who you need to spend money on. I think that Vinicius has shown just in the last couple of weeks that he can score the goals up front. Benzema's got a new surge as well, but I don't really know how long he's going to be around.
That guy's underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Been underrated for years, and it's a
Years.
shame that he doesn't get the same love with the French national team that he shows, because he's shown that he's been a consistent performer. But Deschamps would rather have Giroud and Antoine Griezmann.
I love Giroud, but I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, seriously, there's really no comparison of their careers. There's no comparison.
So, well, Leo, it was nice to see you. We'll get you back on as the season wears on.
Yeah.
Definitely when we look at the upcoming semifinals, which we expect, barring some sort of return to Liverpool Magic Knights at Anfield.
No.
But I think it's going to be tough to overcome turn 3-1. I just don't see it happening. But
This moves know how to park the bus.
So
90 minutes.
all right, good to see you, and Hala Madrid.
Awesome. Great to see you guys.
Take care. Yeah, I didn't realize just how tight the leagues. Well, I knew that Spain had gotten tight. I was looking at it. I knew that Spain had gotten tight. I was not and tend not to. And I think one of the stories that you guys just brought to my attention that I had not been paying attention to was the fact that Lille are in first place in Ligue 1, because you just perpetually expect PSG to run away with that. I hadn't even really considered even looking at it until now. And now
Lille just recently beat PSG at home 1-0. That was, I think, the game before last. So.
And outside of Eduardo Camavinga, I don't think I can name another player on Lille's team.
Yeah, I couldn't name one. I mean,
so I've got you guys because I just named one.
Yeah, you have got me.
No, I was really shocked. I actually kind of stumbled on it by accident, and I was like procrastinating from doing my big people's job work, and I looked at it and I was like, oh wow, what's going on over here? So. And it's good to see that Monaco's kind of like popped back up a bit, and Fabregas is talking about wanting to finish out his contract, and I hope he does. So yeah, there's actually something to watch when you look at their top four is their top four is set, but because they only qualify 2 automatically for Champions League, there's still a lot of drama going on in Ligue 1. So there's
that wouldn't that be interesting though if after all of this, because they only have the 2 automatic qualifying positions for the Champions League. If after all of this, somehow PSG manages to fail to qualify for the Champions League.
It's possible. I mean, Monaco's down but then by a point. And we've seen in relatively recent history, Monaco win a league title over there. So it's not out of the question,
I can name one. Jose Font, whatever his name was. He played for Leicester. No, Southampton. He played that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. And he's over at Lille now?
He's at Lille.
Did you just look that up?
Yeah.
Okay. At least you're honest.
There's a great also if you have any kind of like interest in hearing about Ligue 1, there's a YouTube series, and I forgot the name of the series, but he does a kind of like an expose on Marseille and how they've basically been, that's the second best team historically speaking. They were the best until this recent PSG stuff is going on. And he's like, it's amazing that this team's been this good because they're always involved in some sort of scandal. It's always like a bunch of crap going on. The owners are awful people. It was, I find it extraordinarily entertaining. So in case you're bored and getting a YouTube rabbit hole, look that up. It's pretty good.
So we want to bring in our good friend, Chelsea Mike. Yeah, we can have the Chelsea conversation real quick. They won, game over, moving right on.
Fair enough.
How's the ankle?
And Mendy is good.
How's the ankle?
Mendy is good.
Ankle's fine. I showing my age. I was playing soccer with a 5-year-old over the weekend, and I sprained my ankle. It's good.
That's not good.
Nope, stayed off.
So since we have the London crew assembled, well, as much as it's going to, I feel like before we get into lower league talk, Mike, and a little bit of MLS, we should take this opportunity while we have it. and we'll do it again later because I'm expecting Matt to be on, but we should
Okay.
take this opportunity and take a break from this to enjoy a good round of kicking Tottenham while they're down. Somebody once said, you should never kick somebody when they're down. I feel like that's the perfect time to kick them. It makes them harder to get up. And since Los is not here to defend his team today, he had other obligations. I feel obligated to spend a couple of minutes picking on Spurs. So I will ask you, Sean, what was a better moment for you this week? Arsenal
Well,
winning.
it's always enjoyable to watch Spurs squirm at the expense of the of another sort of top four competitor. I have to say, I got very angry. We were having a chat, weren't we, on the WhatsApp group? So I think VAR stands for very angry reaction, and by God, they got one from me on Sunday. I thought it was completely pathetic. I know Los has a different view of Son falling to the floor, holding his face as though someone had shot him in the head. And worse than that, that VAR decided to actually give a free kick. That's not the only incident, by the way. There's been plenty more. I, as you know, am surrounded by Spurs fans down here. Unfortunately, all my best mates are Spurs fans. And yeah, it's been fantastic just watching them turn on Jose. It's happened slowly, but now every single one of them wants to see the back of Jose. So I think a lot of them are worried about Kane, about him leaving, because I think if Jose stays, there's a good chance of that happening. It's just a shame that we might not see St. Totteringham's Day this year, unfortunately. No. But I have, as you know, I have an annual curry bet with my best mate who's a Spurs fan, and we went evens this year, no handicap involved. So we're only 4 points behind. I might still win the curry. That was the good news.
Oh well, that's what matters. You know, Mike.
Can I say the most egregious thing of the Son fake dive, whatever? It wasn't the fact that he dove, because okay, that happened, and you do that to get the call, but there's just two really good things. The build up that led to the goal that was taken off was just beautiful, and to see that taken away on a VAR review of clear and obvious error is the guideline, and to me that wasn't a clear and obvious error. There was like a little hand fight and the hand came up. I don't know. But the most egregious part of it was not only that Son went down, he stayed down and then received treatments for what seemed like 5 minutes during the entire VAR review. It's like, son, you got tapped like this in the face.
On your face. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I was expecting him to be spitting up blood and missing a tooth.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, like, I understand the Spurs perspective on that, and it's hard to be objective in that sort of circumstance because it's your team, and, you know, not only do they lose the goal, it's then right before halftime, it's Son who goes down and scores the goal that sends them 1-0 up at halftime. A little bit of justice was served again because, you know, Jose shut up shop. And eventually, United ran out 3-1 winners, and deservedly so. I thought they were the better team on the day. Spurs have now lost. Jose's lost more league games at Spurs this season than he ever has in the Premier League. And they have dropped more points than ever from winning positions, which is showing that whatever tactic he is using is just not working. Daniel Levy has got to be messing himself right now, because here is a guy who 2 years ago had all of these assets that were appreciating in value. And now, after Jose, they've just, I don't think that you could get a bag of balls for Dele Alli right now, who was
He might go
touted
to,
as
he might go to West Ham.
he
When
might go to
Lingard
West.
comes to
I
Arsenal,
could see him leaving England completely.
maybe.
Yeah, I could see him.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, 2-3 years ago, this was £100 million player who right now I don't think you could get a bag of balls for.
Well, I mean,
Um,
when you can't prove your value, then you're valueless. I mean, and the question is why. When he's out there, he looks pretty good.
he doesn't do what Jose wants him to do
Right,
in that position.
but Chelsea, Mike, that was my issue as well. Was when I saw him play, I'm looking for a deficiency that he didn't have earlier, as to show some decline in his form, and I didn't see it either. So it turns into an issue of this appears to be solely a spat with the coach. So, and the sad thing is that due to that, that's costing Spurs money. And you're looking at a team right now and previously, I'm sorry, that team is loaded. And there is no way they should be performing the way they've been performing. This has been an awful underachievement for a squad that is as loaded as they have been recently. And the fact that their best shot was the year that Leicester won the title and they ended up finishing behind Arsenal but that just lets you know, I think they've bungled this completely. And it doesn't matter how many times they can share Harry Kane stats, they've bungled this completely. And the only way they can save any face is to win the Man City Cup. That's the only way. And even then, they have to win that cup. They have to.
They have to win this cup because just like Liverpool, this is a team that is coming to the end of its shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Liverpool, the only thing that they have to show for it is a Champions League final appearance. Now, granted, that might be great, but you're going to look at this as probably one of the more successful spells in Spurs' recent history, and all they've got for it is a Champions League final. You know, even Arsenal's got silverware.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to hear something funny, guys, this week? So there's big talk about whether Levy's going to take the plunge and get rid of Jose, which is going to cost him 30 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. And guess who they're looking at?
Pochettino?
Frank Lampard?
Oh, Sean froze.
Oh,
right
Sean
when
froze.
He,
no.
Right when he was going to get
John, go ahead. John, you froze.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So, does anyone know who the manager of Eintracht Frankfurt is?
Frank Lampard. Wait, you say?
Yeah.
Does anyone know who the manager of
who
Eintracht Frankfurt is?
We didn't bring on Rob this week.
Too. And no, but I know that the guy's got a really good reputation.
The guy's got a good reputation. They're fourth in the German league, but his name, would you believe?
He froze again.
Wow.
Only on this show. Only on my show.
The timing of the freezing, though,
that's the part that's
great.
No.
That's the best part of it is the timing of the freezing.
You can produce the show to do that.
I'm gonna stop his video. Yeah, to stop his video.
You couldn't plan it.
I'm gonna spotlight him. Let's spotlight him.
Yes, so that we can only see a frozen Sean with this agonized look on his face.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
By the way, the manager of Eintracht Frankfurt is Adi Hütter.
Yes, I was about to say that. Adi, I mean, he's pretty well regarded, but it would be the sort of move that you would see Levy making, because that 30 million that's a lot of money, right? And a lot of money for a team that doesn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, you just spent all that money building a brand new stadium, and then for more than half of its existence, you haven't been able to have fans in it.
Yep.
It's designed to have NFL games being played in it.
That going either.
I haven't been able to get that going. And it's not only that, it's like, do you know when that will be back, right? They may have to sell. You're going to take a loss on Dele Alli. Like I said, I don't think that you could get a bag of balls for him. right now. You'd almost have to hope that if you sent him out on loan a la Jesse Lingard, that he would go someplace and perform well enough that you could suddenly make some of your money back and prove it, because, you know, the best thing that ever happened to Jesse Lingard was going to West Ham, and now all of a sudden he's a valuable commodity. And Man United, who would have accepted like 10 million pounds for him, will probably get well over that for him this summer. And it would be in his best interest to move. Dele Alli's got to leave. Harry Kane is going to say, you know, hasta la vista, but if you think he's still a 150 million pound player or even a 100 million pound player, I think you're lying, because you look at what he still a lethal striker? Yes. But one of the things that he used to do was he would drop more into the midfield and make runs and stuff like that. Age, injury is catching up with him. He's not as mobile as he used to be.
And he was never the most mobile guy anyway.
No. Yeah. And that's why I said, like, a couple of years ago, maybe, the economic climate being what it is, why am I going to pay 100 million plus that salary for Harry Kane when you're quoting a number that's not that far off what Erling Haaland's going to be? Why would I get him this year? You really have to want Harry Kane for that to happen.
I could see them moving Son. I think that would be an easier player to move because he's a little bit younger. Even with the recent kind of, you know, baby boneheaded play he's had this past week, he still scored a goal. And
I think
he's a damn good player. I mean, he's good.
He's a great player.
I take him at Arsenal every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
But the other thing that was interesting about him was after the game, like, he was in tears. And it's not that he was in tears because of what happened on the pitch. Like, he just was not having a good time.
No.
And I think that is something that Mike, you and I, and now Coach Matt, who joins us, have all experiences being like the ex-Jose Mourinho was our manager club. That sort of joyless football experience that these players have after playing for him and for a while. This sort of like joylessness, it like sucks the passion out of the players' souls, and they just seem so miserable to be out on the pitch playing.
They look dead out there. They don't look like they're gonna, you know, pop up and score that goal when they go down one. They're, you know, it is that, because I've seen it before. I actually kind of saw it with Chelsea too at the end of the Lampard thing. It was just aimless, but it's the same thing that happened to us twice. It's the same thing that happened to you guys. The listless looks, the you know, the desire to move on. You can see it in the play. And I mean, Tottenham, just with the amount of talent they have, for them to be in seventh, it's almost like, I mean, you could do a draft and pick that. Like, if you did a fantasy draft and you had their lineup, you'd think you'd come in first.
Mm-hmm. So we want to bring Coach Matt in. Since Carlos isn't here to defend Spurs, this last segment has been pile on Tottenham time, because I figure perfect. if you're not going to defend your team, that's just an invitation for us to
defend yourself. Yeah,
pile on, pile on them, dog them. So I kind of gave my thoughts on the game. We talked a little bit about the VAR controversy and so on. I as many people are going to think that was not a foul. I have said just about everything I intend to say about VAR this season. Like, it's a joke. It's almost to the point now where if a ref gets called over to look at it on video, they almost feel like because VAR sent it down and referred it, that they have to overturn their decision. You know, I wish the refs would have the stones to say, I made that call. I did not see that as a foul. But I guess we can also, Matt, consider ourselves fortunate that it didn't end up with him deciding, because McTominay was already on a yellow and he made contact with his face to give him another yellow and give him a red card. because that would have been the softest red card on the face of the planet. But what did you make of this game this weekend, other than the right guys won?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think exactly kind of what you're saying. I'm actually really proud of the guys. Not only did, they had that VAR, think about the kind of the mental fortitude you have to have. And I have to give kind of Ole some props for bringing these guys in at halftime. You had that ridiculous VAR decision. You have, you go down a goal against Son, of all people, scores the goal too. And you see teams a lot of times that can just break them. It's, you think, and also there were a couple of things too during the game. I felt, and Mike also, to Mike's credit too, was bringing it up to the refereeing beyond that was just questionable. There were just a couple calls where Mike and I were just going back and forth being like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand how this is a call. And so to have all that going against you heading into halftime with a deficit, for them to come out the way they did and just outplay, Spurs off the park was awesome. I thought Pogba was phenomenal in the game overall too. He's starting to come up in some big games now, and I really also think we missed him a lot when he was injured. We really showed that. So I'm just really proud of them overall.
Quietly, Mason Greenwood has started to get back amongst the goals, which is a good sign, considering the fact that Anthony Martial is likely to miss the rest of the season. But it's nice to see Greenwood getting back amongst the goals. I know that he had his struggles earlier in the season. Hopefully he's put that all behind him, and we can start to see what a talent this young man is. Only Wayne Rooney has scored more goals for Manchester United as a teenager than Mason Greenwood. And it's hard. Sometimes we still have to remember he's 19 years old. He's still a kid, and it's like he just turned 19. He's not a 20-year-old yet, right? So I know he's had his issues. He's fighting to get back in the England team. Luke Shaw. I love that as good as Paul Pogba played, Solskjaer still called him out for missing that chance on the volley and trying to back heel. And he was like, and you could tell that it was done with love and affection, and that Paul will respond. I didn't think that he needed to do much to get them back focused, other than say, hey, look, we're not losing this game again 6-1. But on a weekend when your rivals for the other top four places lose and give up ground, picking up a win in what is one of their few remaining big fixtures is good, and that's a major step forward. And if we pick up the win on Burnley, United is only 8 points behind City. I don't think that's enough to make a title charge, but I'd rather be 8 points off of first right now than fighting for points. Well, I mean, struggling to just fighting for the Champions League, sweating it out, hoping that we go on a miraculous run. I mean, credit to Ole. I think that despite his faults and foibles, he's learning to manage in the Premier League, and he's managed to get this team into this position. And the question is always going to be, would a different manager be able to get more out of this team than he was, or is he getting as much as he can out of this? There are certainly times where you feel like Mauricio Pochettino or somebody could do a better job with this team, but there are other times where you're like, hey, I think maybe he actually is the right guy for this job.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, talk about Mauricio Pochettino. I mean, think about all the players he has at, PSG, and they're not first right now. And actually, League One is super tight. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's pretty insane.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah. So I mean,
League One, because man, I'm bouncing up and down.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't want to compare it, but it's just, I think that there are certain coaches that are just set up to be very, very good at the clubs they are. I think that the fact that Zidane was at Real Madrid for as long as he was during the first Galacticos era, understanding how it's run, understanding Florentino Perez has been a huge benefit to helping him be successful there. Now, is Ole going to be like Zidane and get as much success as him? No, probably not. But there is, I think, there is something to that. I think that Ole does have trust. I think he's also benefited a little bit from the Glazers saying, "Hey, we don't have to spend as much money, and if we just back him for a little while, and as long as we're still in the Champions League races, we'll take the money and run with that." But I think if you just look at player improvement overall, I think that he's just done a fantastic job with the players that he has. We still have holes, but I don't think he's being supported by Woodward as much as someone like Jose Mourinho was or Louis van Gaal was, in the same sense that they were essentially allowed to build entire teams, and those players ended up being pretty mediocre for the most part. So yeah, I'm really happy with Ole, and like you said, Mike. Yes, I don't think we're going to win the title this year, but for all the plaudits and applauds that Pep has gotten this year for how great City are, if we could finish, 5 points or, less than 2 games adrift of them at the end of the year, I think that's a statement. I think it's not the same as when Jose finished second place and we were, double digits behind them. And if we can hopefully win Europa League on top of that, I think Ole will actually get the backing and be able to prove we're title contenders.
I think that's the key. I think at one point he has to win some sort of silverware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can't keep doing second in the league is as good as a trophy. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. Trophies are those things, they're typically made in silver, and you pick them up and you hold them, and there's a whole entire ceremony and a presentation. Even if it is the Europa League this year, I definitely think that he's got to win something, right? He's got to win something. So from one coach that seems to be in everybody's good graces to another, Sean Stead, I can't keep track of this. How do we feel about Arteta this week?
I feel good about Arteta. I think I'm being serious. I mean, I think you've got to remember that he had a lot of shit to clear out, for want of a better word, and we started that process in January, and I'm sure we will continue again this summer. I mean, what was interesting against Sheffield United is he completely changed the setup, and he sort of put Xhaka out, sort of left back, almost us playing 3 at the back, because he was allowing Chambers to sort of bomb up and down, and then he put Partey in the middle on his own almost, and was allowing Ceballos and who else do we have playing in midfield? I can't remember, but I think he's a good coach. What's reminding me at the moment is it's almost when going back to when George Graham joined the club back in '86, where he had to get rid of people like Charlie Nicholas, I can't remember the others, and started pushing the youth through. And I think we'll see more young players. We had a young kid called Miguel Aziz on the bench, who I was hoping would come on. He's 18 or just turned 19. Who's a central midfielder, been doing fantastic for the reserves. And I like the way how he's slowly pushing more youngsters in. I mean, not many people had heard of Emil Smith-Rowe before the start of the season. I mean, I know he had a few games before under Unai. Saka has just been phenomenal. And we had Martinelli start the game finally after his injury. So there you are. There's 3 19-year-olds who are getting into Arsenal's first team. And then Balogun looks as though he's going to sign a contract with us. He's been knocking in the goals for the reserves. So yeah, I'm not disappointed. I mean, you can only judge by the points. So it's interesting. You were just talking about Ole. You got 66 points last season. You're currently on 63 with 7 games to go. So that's an improvement. The ones that have gone totally backwards this season, we spoke about it at the start, is Liverpool, who finished off on, 91 last year. They've only got 52 points. Unfortunately, at the moment, I think we finished with 56 last season. We're currently on 45. So we're probably going to end up roughly with the same amount of points. But as of the start of next season, it will be his squad. And then, it will be Arteta's squad. So
I will say that, if let's say you get rid of the two really bad losses that he had in February, and I'm speaking of the 1-0 loss to Villa and the 2-1 loss to Wolves. Let's say you get rid of those two games. The actual form of Arsenal since the new year has actually been quite positive. And I think it would be very idiotic for anyone to suggest that Arteta needs to go. And our little Arsenal chat group, I see that there are those fans on that group who think that Arsenal should be competing for the title every year without really paying attention to what's really going on in the club. It's just like, fire him. You're like, okay, yeah, it's kind of funny. But, number one, Allegri didn't want the job. Number two, who else is going to get to manage the club that's going to know the inner workings of the club? No one. Number three, we have to remember that Mikel Arteta is not even 40 years old. He's very young. And to bring in a coach that's that young and to fire him, we don't have Roman Abramovich. That's not we don't have that type of a setup at Arsenal.
Yeah.
So it's really idiotic to think to suggest that Arsenal need to move away from him as a coach. I think it would be helpful though. I don't know if they have this, but if there was like an old head in the inner workings of the club that could kind of talk to him and just say, listen, when you're in front of the media, you look really upset. You got to kind of tone that down. You look a little immature at times. I think if there was just I don't want to say mentor, because that would kind of make it seem like it's somebody else who's coaching, but just some grizzled old vet that knows how these things work to calm him down and to let him have confidence in himself and to go, look, you got to just kind of roll with a team. Like whatever, I don't know, but whatever they needs to say to him. So so he can ignore the circling of the hawks and the vultures that think he needs to go down. But I think if they were to move him on, I think you're looking at Arsenal potentially dropping out of a big six format, and it'll be a big four again. And yet Arsenal will have been replaced completely by Manchester City and Spurs. It's going to be Man City, Man U, Chelsea, Liverpool. That's going to be the new big four. And that's what worries me. And I think if they were, because I think what we're just talking about with Spurs, I think Spurs are going to be, I can see them having a hole that they're going to take a decade to dig out of. And I'm hoping Arsenal doesn't go the same way. And I think they could if they potentially fire Arteta and then have to pay him and then bring in another coach. And that coach is going to want to bring in their players. They're going to be spending more money that they don't have. And don't forget, Arsenal has an owner that is not supported at all by the fan base. So I just
no, not by the fan base.
By the fan base, yeah. So I think you got to be careful and understand.
He put his money in it. He put his hand in his pocket for Partey, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which is the first time we've seen.
But I'm kind of like, you have to let Arteta have a chance to play with his players. You do, and he still won a trophy.
Maybe we should bring Pat Rice back out in his wheelchair.
Yeah. Maybe that's somebody that could just talk to him. Just somebody, But all I'm saying is, but got an FA Cup. Got an FA Cup. Got one.
You can't take that away. You have a trophy.
You know what?
You have a trophy.
And I guarantee Spurs fans will not admit it, but if they could trade in their one Champions League final for the 4 FA Cups that Arsenal has won in the past 6 years, they would take it.
They'd probably take it for the 2 of the 4. You don't even need all 4.
But the big test is Thursday. This is Arteta's biggest game.
This is the big test, yes. They blew that lead. And if they don't go in there and win, that's going to be really bad. They better not fire him because that's the dumbest thing they can do.
Okay, so you say, okay, this is a big one. They've got to go in. They did blow that lead Surrendering the goal, Slavia, but you have to go to Prague and play, right?
I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I think you got a young team. I don't think they mind getting out of London. I don't. I really don't. I think they would love to get out of London for a while.
The only thing that goes in his favour is Slavia are predominantly a counter-attacking team. So it'd be very interesting. Are they going to defend a 0-0, which obviously gets them through and allows us to dominate the game? I think the problem is some of our injuries have come at the wrong time as well.
Yeah.
I would rather have Odegaard in there on Thursday, but I don't think
Saka's got a little knock on him too.
I don't think he's going to be fit. So
Are the rumors true about them is Prague having fans? Because I heard that there were rumors that they might have fans.
Where in Czechoslovakia?
In Prague, yeah.
In Prague, really?
Mm-hmm. There were rumors like at the end of last game that they might have them.
There won't be any Arsenal fans.
There won't be any Arsenal fans,
but that might be just like, I don't know, a little spur up of the moment.
Yeah.
Young guys. I don't know,
man. I'm sure they'll throw plenty of bananas and make lots of monkey chants the entire game anyway.
Yeah.
Which is just what the Slavia Prague fans need.
Yeah,
is all that stuff. Now, I figure if they do have fans, they'll probably be on their best behavior. No. But then again, I've been wrong a lot. So, Mikey, we want to talk a little bit about, while we've got you here, we were joking earlier about, and we will do an honest MLS preview in a couple of weeks when we actually figure out what's going on.
Matt, get your betting line together for Sean.
Sending you, Shawty.
I've lost one house already. Why not lose a second one?
Hey.
And we're gonna do MLS speed dating with Sean next week to try and get him his first MLS franchise.
See United, buddy.
Yes, because you guys might not finish last this year.
I'm gonna try to get him on Cincy, so the Cincinnati team.
I was say that Cincinnati.
Does Cincinnati have a porn star on their board?
I don't know. We'll look around for that, though. That'll be one of those things that we'll look for, right? Okay. But I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that the MLS season is starting this weekend. Mike, Union have their second round game against their second CONCACAF Champions League game coming up this week after going out with a 1-0 win they picked up in Costa Rica. Anything that you think that we should be watching for, Mike or Matt, as we get ready for the start of the MLS season, or is it just another one of those things we'll figure it out in a couple of weeks?
I mean, I think we'll figure it out in a couple of weeks. I wish I could analyze every MLS roster, but they keep adding teams and
they keep adding teams, and it's always players that I have no idea who this guy is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But people ask me about, like, oh, well, did you see the latest signing for the Philadelphia Union? It's this 19-year-old American kid from St. Pauli that they picked up for $500,000. I'm like, okay, I have no idea who this kid is. Apparently, got no idea.
But I mean, I'm actually kind of excited for the Union. Obviously taking the Supporter Shield last year. They've got the talent there. I mean, I know they lost Aronson and McKennie, but they apparently picked up another Aronson.
They had another Aronson, and they think I was talking to a friend of mine who has some connections to the Union coaching staff, and apparently the Union coaching staff is very big on the younger Aronson brother. They actually think that he might be the better of the two.
Yeah. And
one of the reasons why they didn't make a move to replace Brendan was because they believe a lot in Paxton. Matt, you're going to tell me something.
That's a very like coach thing to say. Like when you're at DeMatha too, like you're at the camps, you're always like looking harder at the younger brother because you think the younger brother is going to be better than the older one because the older one would just beat up on the younger brother for so long. And then they think that, oh yeah, the younger one's going to be great. So it'll be interesting to hear that. I just always chuckle every single time because you never know. It's just
Well, I'm also going to go with like I believe that the coaches in the academy system, if they're bringing this kid through, they have some idea of whether or not he's actually halfway decent.
oh, he's definitely gonna he's definitely gonna be up there. Like you have to pass those things, but just like that general statement of like, well, we actually think he's gonna be better than his brother. It's just really funny because it's just like a classic line.
I know. And it's also a great way to justify them not spending the money.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But let's be honest, like apparently MLS players are taking Europe by storm. You got some fans in the lower divisions of England who are absolutely falling in love with Daryl Dike. And for the price of $20 million, he could be yours. Arsenal, United, Chelsea.
He said he was a Chelsea fan the other week, so
I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. I don't think there's a spot for him, but
I don't think he's ready to make the jump from where is he, Barnsley?
Yeah,
like Barnsley to a Champions League team, but certainly proof of concept. I mean, the kid's going over there. What's he got? 97,000 goals in 6 games.
I don't know, but he's looked good, and really that's all you want to see. Aaronson's looked good over in Austria. Mackenzie not so much again, but but I mean, we're getting American. I mean, the whole union model, and I can't speak for what every team does, but with their whole model was, build the academy, start selling off people, and then have enough money to keep building the academy and keep selling off people while winning games. I mean, they won silverware last year. They're selling off people. I mean, now let's see if the next round of people through the academy are good. But I mean, if we're doing that and we're exporting players over to Europe who are making an impact, I mean, that's how eventually the United States men's national team is, is going to start to find success. I mean, I'm thrilled about what I've seen from there.
So speaking of Daryl Dike, Mike, what should we be looking out for in the lower divisions of English football this week?
I mean, League One. League One has some. So there's no League One games on TV in America, as far as I could tell. I'm sure you can pull a stream off the internet, but it's not on any of your subscriptions. That said, tomorrow there's a bunch of makeup games.
Mm-hmm.
And just to point it out, the next couple of match days to the end of the season, there are 4 teams get relegated from League One. There are 6 teams within 7 points of each other at the bottom of the table. So watching the results come in, I would say pull up like a Sky Sports table, a static table at the beginning of your day. They mostly play at 10 on Saturday. Pull it up at 9:50 when you're getting set up to watch your 10 o'clock game, and then get a live table and just sort of watch. It's like a dryer going around. What teams are getting relevant? What teams are getting relegated? What teams aren't? Tomorrow there's a big one at the bottom of the table. Rochdale, Swindon Town. They're the bottom 2 teams in the league. If Rochdale wins, then there's 6 teams within 4 points of each other at the bottom of the table. And there's also our old mates, Wigan Athletic, are playing everyone's favorite lower league side, Sunderland. Sunderland needs the win. They're 5 points off automatic promotion with a game in hand, so they need to catch Peterborough. Wigan are the first team relegated at this point. in the season, but like I said, there's that swirl around. If Wigan were to win, they would be a point clear. They would be the top of those 6 bottom teams.
Mm.
You also have Wigan. You have Wimbledon and Rochdale though. They've played 39 matches. Where you're looking at Northampton and Bristol played 41 matches. Wigan's at 40. So there's going to be some shaking out, and I really think that live table is going to look a lot. It's going to be interesting to watch. Even more so after these run of makeup games, because the table's going to start to even out after this week, and then you'll see really how these games are going to happen. I've actually, it's funny because I wasn't sure if you're going to talk about championship or you're going to talk about League One. So I've been looking at the League One table mostly. So I was happy when you started talking about that. But that's going to be, that's kind of it, because after Sunderland, there's a pretty well gap. I doubt Blackpool's gonna really kind of like sniff around for those 2 automatic promotional spots. But it's going to be fun to watch. But I wanted to ask you this though.
Mhm.
There is Bournemouth is playing Norwich next in the championship. Now Bournemouth is at the bottom of the playoff contending teams right now. Now, if we're looking at Bournemouth though, Norwich has basically got this in the bag. They're up by 8 points over second place alone, and I believe it's like 15 or even more points over third place. Is Norwich you think they're gonna start to take the foot off the gas, and do you think they're gonna let Bournemouth steal a win here? Like, how's that looking to you?
I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think they want to bury everybody.
I think and they've got some young talent, and I don't think young talent turns off. Of course, they've got Pookie, who's in the hunt for the goal title.
Tony scored though. Tony got one this weekend, I believe. Ivan Tony. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's still in there. He's still kicking around. So no, I don't think they do. And why would you? I mean, this is all you've got. Really.
I think, did Norwich get promoted this weekend?
No, so technically, if they lost every game and Brentford won every game, they would be 1 point clear of Norwich. So a draw this week, and they are officially promoted. But
that's all the more reason for them to win too. Yeah.
Right. They won to celebrate.
Won their last 4. Bournemouth is in good form.
Bournemouth are in good form. They have won the last 4. I mean, and to come from not really having a coach, go on an FA Cup run, sneak into the playoffs. I mean, that would be a pretty good season for Bournemouth. Again, if they did win the playoffs, the 3 coming up would be the same 3 that went down last year, which is kind of not fun.
Yeah. I think that playoff is going to be great. The championship playoff this year is going to be really, really good. Really good.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah. With Bournemouth, it's all down to one man, obviously, which is a young lad called Jack Wilshere. That's the reason why they're up there.
That's it. A young man, a very young man.
Even though his ankles are 75.
He's only 28.
Yeah. Those ankles are 70 though.
Yeah. Those ankles are 70.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy to looking at the League One table and just like how old I feel, because I'm like, I remember when they were in the Premier League. Obviously we have Wigan, but you have Blackpool, Portsmouth, Charlton. It's just crazy how teams can just dive down.
That's the curse.
Yeah.
Is that once you get into those lower leagues, if you don't make the bounce back in a year or two, you run the risk of getting sucked into the lower depths. And anybody will tell you when you get down there, you don't make money. I used to stat earlier, the teams in the championship their payroll was 125% of revenue. There's no way that is sustainable. And you look now at what happened to teams like Sheffield Wednesday, who will go down. Wigan, it would be a nice story if Wigan could survive, given the whole entire situation with the ownership and the administration and all that shadiness from the beginning of the season. And think they finally got ownership resolved. And they got somebody in who's going to make the investment in the team. But that's a team, again, if they get demoted to League Two, you know, could we see them? When could we see them back, even in the Championship? Sunderland has been down there, and unfortunately, gentlemen, I learned this week there will not be another season of Sunderland till I die.
That's so sad. It's probably why they're doing well now.
Yeah, they said, you know, during COVID last season, the ownership was like, nah, not so much. So we'd all been geeked to see how they would respond to that end of the season last year, where they were right there for promotion, and the season got cut, and they lost on the points per game basis. But unfortunately, there were no cameras, so there was no even intent, and it doesn't look like they were recording them this season either. So I wonder, you know,
don't be surprised if in 5 years they come up with another season. I wouldn't be surprised to see it.
I mean, I think they thought that in that first season they were going to show their heroic rise to the Premiership.
Yeah.
Like they're
and it didn't happen.
Relegated. I mean, I think when they're actually in line to possibly be promoted back to the Premier.
I agree.
I would love to know like the revenue stream for it too, though, because like that's got to be an aspect. Because I feel like, I mean, you were talking about it, Mike. Just like you always forget too, just the lack of fans, just like how much it kills these teams that have invested so much into being in the Premier League, and then they drop down. It's like, how are these other guys going to find ways to make money? So I wonder if Netflix comes back and says, all right, we will double the amount of money we're giving you guys if you let us do. I'm sure they'd be like, sure.
You almost right now you have to take it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
you have to take it.
You know, I don't know if you all saw it, but and it's meaningless in a certain respect. But Matt, the rich list came out, and Man United dropped to 4th. Now, part of that has to do with the fact that they got surpassed by Bayern Munich, who I believe would already be a more viable club, because just their dominance in Germany plus the Champions League win had to surpass United's revenue, plus the effects of COVID. You know, Germany's been able to have fans at certain points this season, which has also helped them, where, you know, United never had fans and may not, depending on how things go. Although, Sean, I did hear that the pubs had reopened.
They have today. It's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Except you can only pubs with a beer garden are allowed to open. It doesn't help.
And it's freezing cold.
And
it's freezing cold.
And it's snowing. So that hasn't happened.
Well, listen, we did it over here during February.
Yeah.
So if you have the intestinal fortitude to do it, you can make it work. But
I walked past the pub, to be fair, when I went shopping today, and it didn't look that busy. But I will be going into town, into Exmouth on Thursday to watch the Slavia Prague game. So that'll be the first test to see, does football and beer, is that getting the punters out there again? I'm just, Mike, you tell me, I've just looked up the dates for the playoff finals. So obviously there's some local interest from me, because the Grecians are currently 1 point and 1 place outside the playoffs in League Two. That's Exeter City. And it's saying that the League Two playoff finals, the 29th of June. Is that right?
Really?
That would be smack in the middle of the Euros.
Yeah, that seems very late, and I'm not.
They don't have anyone going. So.
I was thinking the same thing.
I thought the same thing, but then you have to remember, they do play that game at Wembley.
I'm going to go if Exeter get there. I'll go definitely, because I can get tickets through friends down here. But that just seems crazily late, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's oddly late. They've already played 40 games, so they only have 6 left. It doesn't
make any sense
like
to
the
play
season would
that
be
late.
going that long.
Normally, it's like a couple of
Ah,
weeks after the FA Cup final.
sorry. No,
Yeah.
that was last year.
That
Of
makes
course,
sense.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we go.
there we go.
Yeah, I would suspect that would be like Memorial Day time frame.
Yeah, their championship Sunday's May 8th. So
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's
Me instead are like, that makes
23rd of
sense.
May. But I don't know by the 23rd of May if they'll have given the go-ahead to let Wembley be full. They're doing a test, aren't they, for the Man City Cup final?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're only allowing
City.
8,000 in or something.
City Cup.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, that went quickly.
Oh,
That went quickly.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So, as we hit the road, parting thoughts. Coach Matt, what you got for us?
I'm excited that I get to announce that I'm doing pickup soccer with British Will, and so that's going to be a regular thing. And then hopefully we can get Stead in there as well. He was talking about possibly coming. I'm super sore from it, but it was great time. It was great fun. I know he's not on the cast tonight, but I just want to thank Will for that. And I'm excited for the Europa League game on the weekend. Hopefully we progress through.
Mike, I know you don't watch lower division soccer when it comes to Europe. So, what are your parting thoughts as we hit the bricks today?
Oh, in Europe's premier competition, Chelsea 2, Porto 0 for a 4-0 total. Chelsea 2, City 0. Let's just keep that rolling. And also today, I have worn my vintage 2000 keeper kit to show off for all of you.
Okay.
Back in the
Good job.
days when I idolized Fabian Barthez, it's got to be sore for you, United supporters. I'm sorry.
We'll be all right. London Sean.
Well, yeah, biggest game of the season coming up in 3 days' time. And if it goes the wrong way, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be here next Monday because I'll be drowning my sorrows in single malt whiskies. And apart from that, looking forward to these last few weeks of the season. And someone should update us with where we're at in our league table forecasting before the season started as well, because it's coming.
No, because I want to leave it because I was doing well last time I saw it, and I'd like to think that I am still doing well.
I bet you didn't have West Ham in fourth, that's for sure.
No, I did not.
In 19th.
I definitely did not, and I don't know how that is working for me.
I think I have them relegated too.
Producer Stead, what you got for us?
Until they prove me wrong, I'm betting on Bayern Munich to come back and knock PSG out of this tournament. So until they prove me wrong, I've yet to be proven wrong by PSG got close last year. I think they'll never win one until they win one. So I will always bet against PSG until they actually can win a Champions League, or even last season's Champions League tournament was extraordinarily odd. I think we can all agree to that. So for several circumstances. So Bayern Munich 2, PSG 0, and they'll go through.
Interesting that the English bookmakers have made Bayern strong favourites for the game tomorrow, even though it's away.
So PSG, prove me wrong, because you haven't done it yet.
I'm hoping, Mike, that your prediction rings true, and we can finally put all of this discussion of the quadruple to bed.
Oh, I want to final at Wembley against Southampton.
Woohoo! Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we can put this talk of the quadruple to bed. Well, gentlemen, it's been fun. We want to thank Andy the Hammer for coming on, giving us the view from West Ham. Leo for talking a little bit about El Classico. Coach Matt, Mike, thanks a lot for joining us for our roundtable at the end. London Sean, thank you as always, and producer Stead. Uh, I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We did all right this week. We'll try and do better next week.